You are tuning in to the Real and Hungry podcast,
Talking
where we
about the
share
world of real estate
with you
investing
guys
for
the highs,
beginners,
the lows, the challenges, the
They know
victories.
that that's what we call good debt. You know,
Right.
qualify
You can
for
start building some equity as
together.
well. We're buying houses.
all the time.
Let's go.
You are tuning in to the Real and Hungry podcast, where we're going to talk about real estate investors for beginners. And the reason why I say beginner is because I'm here with my main guy, Miguel.
Yo,
And we've been into it about a year and a little change now. And it's been stressful. It's been great. But we're having a good time, right?
it's been life changing, man.
So
It's been good.
this episode, we're going to get right into it. And we want to talk about the term seller financing, owner financing, what it is, what's the benefit for the seller, for the buyer, and then our experiences that we've had, because Miguel, he's got a home right now that he was able to get a seller financing deal on. And then I have a property right now where I was able to get owner financing on it. So seller finance or owner finance is the same thing, but we're going to dive into it, right?
Let's go.
So I'll go ahead and jump in. So tell, from your perspective, what is seller financing, owner financing?
So I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? So the seller,
No, I don't know.
you know, okay. So the seller basically finances the house for you, right? So seller financing. So if I own a house, and for some reason, you know, you want to buy it, and I'm like, Brian, you can buy it, but here are the terms. So you can finance it. You're gonna pay me, you know, X percentage on the X amount, and you're gonna make a payment every month on the house, and after certain amount of years, you're gonna pay me off, right?
Okay.
Is that pretty simple there? Or
It's simple, but I'm sure a lot of people are confused. So let me try to explain it to you. So traditionally, what people do is when they want to buy a house, there's really two ways for you to buy a house. One is you have a bunch of money and you're just going to drop $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 cash, which that doesn't really happen, right? People don't have that amount of cash.
right.
And really the most common way that people buy houses is through mortgages. And what they do is they have a job, they have a little bit of money put aside, they go to a bank, and then they apply for a mortgage loan. And then they are able to buy a house with a mortgage loan. So that's the most common way that people buy houses. Seller finances is, instead of you actually going to a bank to get a mortgage loan, the owner of the house, the seller, is the bank, is the mortgage. So they are actually going to be able to give you a mortgage, and they're going to benefit from it. And then I'll try to give an example. So let's just assume you go get a mortgage right now. Rates are what? 7%?
8%.
Pushing close to 8%. You're going to get an 8%. Well, if I'm an owner and my house is paid off free and clear and I want to sell it to somebody, but I want to be the bank, well, at that point, I can give it to somebody for whatever I want to charge for it. So I can charge 5% interest on it, 3% interest on it, 8%, 20%,
Zero.
whatever, 0% interest on it. So you're the bank. So, but it's hard to comprehend because that's just not a traditional way that people buy houses. But it is an option, and a lot of people are doing it. So, like for your example, right? And I think when you go and explain your example and how that went down, I think it's really going to make sense to people. So let's talk about your specific example, because you have a property right now that you're renting and you're able to get owner financing.
So I mean, before we talk about that, I want to mention a little bit of what could be the pro and cons of someone doing, you know, owner financing versus just simply getting cash for it, right? So why would somebody will do owner financing versus just selling it straight out for cash?
If I'm a seller, if I own the house,
Mm-hmm.
well, for me, it's very simple. So if I have a house and I sell the house for it, let's just say I'm an investor, right? So if I've been living in my house and I sell it, I don't have to pay taxes on it. But let's just say I have like an investment property that I've been renting for a while, and now I decide that I want to sell it. When I sell it, I have to pay capital gains on that.
Yep.
But if I seller finance it and I'm still the bank, then I'm pretty sure I don't have to pay,
You only pay on what you're getting.
which is a small fraction
So
after you.
and there's some benefits to it.
What benefits are you talking about?
Well, like you're saying, you know, if you sell a house, you make $100,000, you're gonna have to pay capital gains on that right away.
Right.
Versus making, you know, capital gains on the payment that you're getting every month, you know, at the end of the year.
And we should probably bring a tax accountant to come and clarify these
yeah,
for
for
us.
sure.
But I do know that we're not tax accountants, so don't take our word for it. But here's another benefit. If I'm the bank and I'm charging you, let's just say 1% interest rate, that's 1% interest rate that you're paying me on top of what you're paying me to buy the house.
Yeah. So I think that's the main reason why people do it. And one of the pros of why people do it all the time, and I'll mention this in my example. A lot of times people want an X amount for their house they can't get selling it for cash, right? So that's when creative financing and owner financing come in place. So if you have a house that, it's not really worth $100,000, but you want $100,000, maybe I can pay the $100,000 if you give me enough good terms as a owner financing to where it makes sense for me because I'm getting great terms. I'm cash flowing if I'm renting a property, or, and you're getting your $100,000 that you originally really wanted for the house, right? So I think that's one of the biggest pro why a lot of people do owner financing these days specifically.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a win-win situation, right?
It has to be, yeah.
Because if you're, let's just, and I'm trying to put things in perspective. If you're the buyer, I'm the seller. So I own a house, you buy it from me. If you buy it from me and I can give you the terms that you want, you're going to be happy because maybe you don't have to pay 8% rate. Maybe you can get a 0% or 1% or 3%, which is much better than what the market is offering right now.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it makes sense because let's just say I have a house and I have an option where I can make $100,000 and I might blow it, right? If I'm irresponsible, I might just blow it, go to the casino or blow it. Or I can say, you know what? I want $600 every month on time for 30 years, not the rest of my life, but for 30 years, right? Because if I'm the bank, then I know that I at least have money coming in every month because you bought the house, but I'm the bank.
Right.
And if I put interest on it, if I'm charging interest, then I'm making a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a win-win situation where the buyer can win and the seller can win.
Now, why probably a lot of people are like, well, why would somebody not do that? Or why not many people do it, and there's less people doing owner financing than more people doing it. I mean, because there's got to be the bad side of it too, right? So I think the biggest thing on that is people want instant gratification. They want to get their money right away. So most people just end up settling for a cash offer or selling on the market and just getting their money and moving on, right? Doing whatever they want to do with the money. So I think that's why a lot of people don't owner finance these days.
And I think there's also a misperception where they think that, well, if I'm the bank, that I'm still responsible for the home.
That's a good point.
And that's not the case.
No, that's not the case. Right? You're 100% hands up, right?
Yeah, because I think people, it's like, well, I'm still having to deal with it. And it's like, no, if I'm the bank, I have a lien on it. I have a lien on the property, which means that if you don't follow through with our agreement, if you don't pay me, then I can foreclose on that home and I can get that home back from you. And then I can go and sell it to the market or sell it to somebody else. But once we write the sales contract and I sell it to you, but I'm also the bank, I don't have to worry about paying taxes on it. I don't have to worry about maintenance. Nothing. I don't have to worry about insurance. That's 100% on you. The only responsibility that I have at that point is to collect the payment from you and to make sure that you're making the payments. And if you're not making no payment, then we have to go through court proceeding and legal actions to be able to get that home back from you.
Yeah, just like the bank will.
Yes, just like the bank will, because I'm foreclosing on it. So I think it's not attractive for somebody who owns a house free and clear because I feel like they think that they still have a liability. And really, they don't. Once you sign that deed over, you don't. So that's why seller financing, owner financing, if you understand it well, could be lucrative for a buyer, but also for a seller.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it depends on the scenario, and I think it could be a great deal, and it could be a win-win situation for everybody most of the time. So, let's just dive into some of the examples that we got.
Yours. Let's dive into yours because, we just rented explaining it, but so I want you to tell me. Let's just start with the house. How do you find the house?
Okay, so I mean, this deal came in through our wholesaling company. We got the lead. We called the guy. We go look at the house. He recently renovated the house, or almost all of it, and he owned the house fully renovated for the last 2 years. So I'm like, why is this house sitting empty? It's like, well, I had a situation in the family. The house been sitting empty while I was dealing with the situation. One pipe broke during the winter, then it got flooded the basement. Having to come back, deal with it. I don't know, contractors, they've been doing me wrong. Like, I just want the house gone, right? So I'm like, I definitely understand. To me, I'm saying, well, this is a great opportunity. I think the guy's motivated. So, one mistake we did at that point, we were like, hey, how much you want for the house, right? And he was like, well, you tell me how much you want for it. I said, man, I think I can pay, anywhere from 85 to 95. And, my partner, Hunter, was like, and the guy was like, okay, all right, well, let me talk to my wife and, I'll get back with you guys. So, he goes home. Me and Hunter are like doing, more research in the property. And we're like, dude, this property is probably worth like 120, but we still have to put like 5,000 into the house. So he rushed back to us like, hey, I think 85 won't really work. We want a little more for the house. I'm like, man, it'd be straight cash. You don't have to deal with anything. And he kept saying, no, my wife wants to get a little more. We have a little money invested in the house. So we were like, okay, what is it gonna take to buy the house? Like, I don't know. Let me talk to my wife. So he takes the weekend, talks to his wife. He goes to church. He wanted to talk to the Lord. Monday he comes back, said, man, I don't think we're gonna do it. I'm like, what do you mean? I thought we were wrapping out the deal. It's like, no, we want a little more for the house. So I ended up figuring out eventually what was the, number that worked for him, right?
What was that
so
number?
95,000. He wanted at least 95,000 for the house, right? So I'm like, look, I can't really pay you that cash because it didn't make any sense for me.
It didn't make sense for you, yeah.
Right. But, one of the ways that we acquire properties a lot of time is through owner financing. So he was like, what is that? So I was like, you basically become the bank. You don't have any responsibility with the house. We just make you a payment every month. And and that way I can pay you exactly what you want for the house, 95,000. He was like, really? I said, yeah. So I'm going to make you, for example, we can write up a contract where we're going to, have to pay you the house in 5 years, but our payments are going to be based on 25 years. And we're going to pay you, did the math real quick. It was like $400 a month.
I'm going to have to stop there and explain to the people what that means.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. You the loan guy.
All right. So essentially what he's saying is he's talking about that he structured this deal in a way where there's a balloon payment. And a balloon payment means that there's a period of time where Miguel is going to have to completely pay off the home. And that period of time for Miguel is 5 years. So this seller, he's the bank, and he's pretty much, what was the number that you guys agreed upon?
95,000.
Right, 95,000. So the seller said, okay, that's fine. I'll sell it to you for 95,000. You're gonna pay me every month on the mortgage on it, but at the time that we get 5 years, you have to pay me completely off, right? Yep. But the payment for between those 5 years is based on a 25-year loan term. So your payment is probably very low.
Yep, $416.
So what interest rate were you able to?
0.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were able to negotiate you're going to give him the entire 95%, but he didn't even charge you
95,000. Well, what I tell people is you're never going to get what you don't ask, right? So I'm always going to start,
Zero.
To what's more convenient to me, right? And to a company. So it was like, we can pay you 95,000, a 0% interest rate. In 5 years, I have to pay you completely. And it's going to be based on a 25-year amortization payment. And I had to explain everything to this guy, right? It wasn't just saying, hey, I'm going to give you 95. Like, no, we had to actually get in a few, conversations. Like more as he talked to his wife, more calls came up, more questions.
It's hard to understand.
Yeah, so we got on a call together, him and his wife. I explained the terms. We met a few times. I even took him to the title company and had him talk to the attorney and, explained all the terms, show the contract, make sure he understood everything, because we want to be doing business right. So I want the guy to understand everything and make sure that he's happy with the decision he's about to make. And, we put the terms in this scenario, we put the terms out there. So we did 0%, 5-year balloon, just like you say, 25 arm.
And I'm going to try to explain it one more time because I know people don't understand.
Yeah.
So he wanted $95,000. You gave him $95,000. Yep. That's how he benefited. He wanted that. Initially, you didn't want to give him that much. You were trying to lowball him. The only way that you could pay it is if he gave you some time for you to pay him that amount.
Right.
That period of time that you agreed was 5 years. Mm-hmm. So you'll pay him 95, but you got to give him 5 years. However, the monthly payment for those 5 years, you based out of a 25-year term.
Exactly.
So then that monthly payment is how much?
Like around $416, I believe.
So you're paying him $416 for 5 years. And here's where Miguel was very smart. Miguel knows that within 5 years, he has many options. One, the value is going to go up. Mm-hmm. He'll be able to do a refinance, cash out, pull money out, and pay the owner.
Tax-free.
Tax-free. Option number one, which is probably the one that you're probably going to do or that I would do. Option number two is if it doesn't work out, you can just put it on the market, sell it, as long as you pay him the remaining balance after you pay him for $95.
Which, I
then
mean,
you're
if
good.
you do the math, you know, we're going to have, because this house is already rented, we having somebody paying $1,300 every month.
So you're cash
So
flowing.
we're paying this guy every year $4,192 times 5 years. That's $24,960. So we're having someone else paying the seller $24,000 in 5 years, and you know, the house is gonna be worth way more than 120 in 5 years. I'm hoping, so we'll be able to pull all that money out, pay him, and all that money that we pull in is tax free because it's equity from the house, and we'll be able to. We talk about this in one of our episodes. I think it was the 3rd episode. We talk about equity. You should check it out. It was a great episode, and we'll be able to use that money to invest in the different property and get a higher return.
So it's perfect scenario.
Yeah, it doesn't happen every day, but it was a great deal.
It doesn't happen, and it's really hard for those to come back. But you have one, and I think this is a perfect deal where for you it makes sense. You're willing to pay what he wanted because you got fantastic term. You're
One, he
literally
was
cash
real
flowing.
happy. He was really happy in that closing. Oh, another thing, we didn't put no money down.
So
we
yeah,
had
it's just
zero money down, 0%. He financed $95,000 for us, 5-year balloon, and a 25-year arm. And he was great. He was super happy at closing. He might as well. We're happy, right? Because we took a problem off his hand. This property, he had to cut grass on it, kept getting issues. You know,
you got to pay taxes on it. He got to pay
insurance.
insurance
Pay taxes. You know, one of his questions was just like you mentioned early. Hey, you know, what happens if you don't take care of the property? I said, that's not your worry. You don't have to worry about that. The only thing you have to worry is about me making that payment every year. So in 4 years, if I start making a payment, you own the house back, basically.
Yeah, you can.
Right?
He can foreclose on you like a bank.
So, you know, I'm committed to make that payment every month. And, you know, we got the house. We put about $5,000 investment into it. We painted some things, fixed some others. We put it in the market. Got a $1,300 rent for it. So we got $419 insurance, like $50-$60 in insurance, I believe. And, you know, taxes is like $900 a year, something crazy. So, you know, we all in at like $600. We're getting $1,300, so we cash flow about $700 after expenses, maybe around $500.
Now these are, I mean, I feel like we could probably say that these are the unicorns of the real estate transactions.
But they're out there, man.
They're out there,
you gotta
but
look for it.
they're hard to find. But if you ever come across where you can find owner financing deal, it's a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's a great example, man. So good job. I know when you told me about that, I was like, dang, that's good.
Yeah, we were happy about it too.
That was good. That's a good
Everybody was happy at closing that day.
Good deal. That's a good deal.
Thank you, Eddie, if you're watching this video.
That's a good deal.
But no, you got a great deal too.
Yeah, and
So you know, talk a little bit about that. How you found the property, because you know you went back and forth. I know you kind of tell me, keep me updated on the process, and you were like, man, I got it.
Yeah, so this is it's a triplex that I've been trying to buy for about 12 years, and it's crazy because I always thought that was going to be my first investment property, and I actually lived in one of the units with one of my best friends.
That's right, you told me that.
And we knew the owner, which he rest in peace, John. He was an amazing guy, and I remember this is how ignorant I was. I remember one time I talked to him and I said, man, I love your property. I would love to buy it from you one day. And he said, yeah, I'll sell it to you and I'll just owner finance it, because he didn't owe anything on it.
Really?
And at that time, I was like, well, if you're the bank, then you're the owner. And I didn't understand the concept that we just explained. And because of my ignorance, I didn't entertain that option anymore. And he gave me that option probably like 7 years ago. Well, fast forward years later, you know, I've always had my mind on it, and then he passed away, and his childhood best friend inherited the property, and I got a chance to talk to him, and I was like, man, me and John have been talking about me buying the property from him for years. If that's still an option, I would love to buy it from you. I'll pay whatever. I just really want the property. It's a triplex unit.
Like, can you explain why you really wanted it? You know, I could say your parents were living there.
Yeah, so my parents were living there, and I live there. I mean, it's in the heart of Linden. It's in a fantastic area.
Yeah, so
it's just
a great property.
It's just a fantastic property there was a lot of emotional. I was really close with John. My parents was really close with John. It was just kind of like a mix of everything. Well, he passes away. His friend inherited, and there's like, no, we're not selling the property. And I was like, man, I was really bummed out, right? And it is what it is. So I moved on, and a year after that, I came back to him and I said, hey, I don't know if you've changed your mind, but I love to go grab some lunch, and I was willing to get a loan on it, do whatever it takes. I was going to pay whatever I wanted. I just had an emotional attachment to this property. I wanted to buy it. We went to lunch, and I talked to him, and by that time, rates started to go really high. And I really had one option, which was to buy it with a conventional loan, putting 20% down as an investment property, and I was going to be paying a lot of money out of pocket, a lot of money. And but I talked to the new owner, which he also had a good relationship, and I asked him. I said, look, I know you own it free and clear. I said, I'd love to buy it from you. Are you willing to give me terms on it, and then you'll be the bank? And he was like, you know what? I think that actually might benefit me from a tax standpoint, right? But let me check with my accountant. I don't know what the conversation went, but he talked to them. He got back to me, and he's like, hey, Brian, I think we might be able to work something out. So,
Man, that's nice.
I was able, of course, I didn't get a 0% down, but I was able to pay him 15% down. But he was willing to give me a 2.5 interest rate on a triplex.
That's great.
15%
Can't
down,
find
which
that.
which you can't find that anywhere else, right?
Anywhere.
He's the owner. He's the bank. I'm the owner now. I was able to secure that deal, and we also have a 15-year balloon. So I'm making
15?
the payment. I'm making
That's
the
great,
payments
though.
based on a 30-year mortgage rate, but I have to completely pay them off in 15 years. So I have 15 years to increase the value of the property, save money, get other financing to pay them off completely. But within those 10 years, I'm only paying 2.5% on a 30-year fixed
Wow.
mortgage rate.
Now, let me ask you. You said, one of his motivation was that he gets some, tax benefit from that. Who came out with the price and who came out with the terms?
So originally he came up with the price. And again, I think this is one of those situations that I was like, we both had an understanding that we wanted to be fair. So he paid for an appraisal. He got an appraisal done. And then whatever the appraised amount the appraisal came in at like $395. And he was like, hey, I want to give you a deal. So I'll take 20% off, $20,000 off what that $395 is. So we settled on $375.
Nice.
So $375, I didn't, at that point, I was like, I was willing to pay above $400. That property's worth it. I was like, no worries. So we agreed on that. And then as far as the rate, I think initially we had talked about like 3 or something like that. And then I asked him like, hey, would you be willing to go down to like 2.5? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So then we kind of negotiated that a little bit. So the rate we
Nice.
negotiated a little bit. The price, I didn't want to do too much because I already felt like I was getting a great deal,
Right.
if everything fall in place, and it did. So yeah, he don't have to deal about it anymore. I'm sure he's getting tax benefits, but I'm writing him a check every month for the mortgage.
You don't have to worry about nothing.
He don't have to worry about nothing. And then, I have a great property where it's just a good property in a
That's
great
awesome,
area.
man.
So that's kind of how it worked out. So that was an owner finance and seller deal that if I would have went to the market and got it, I mean, I would have been paying a lot. I probably wouldn't have been able to buy it, right? It probably wouldn't make sense.
You got into this deal with already 20,000 equity based on that last appraisal.
Correct.
Not counting how much it's gonna appreciate every year.
Right.
You told me about this developing they're doing right next to it,
Yeah.
which I think is gonna drive the price up a little bit more too.
Yeah, I mean that
So-
that property is just gonna be. I mean, it backs up to a park. I mean, it's in a
Yeah.
great area.
It's
There's
nice,
no
man.
neighbors around. It's just a good deal.
And I want
I
to
would
mention
have
this again.
overpaid for it and just waited. You know what I mean?
I want to talk about this real quick because remember when you own a property and you're renting a property, the only benefit is not only just the cash flow, right? You're getting the cash flow, you're paying down the loan every month, appreciation, tax benefit, and so on. So when we're doing these deals, we're not looking at we're cash flowing just $500 a month. No, we're looking at how much we're paying it down every month, how much is appreciating every year. In your case, for example, my property is in a different area, so it's not going to appreciate as much as your property, right? So 5% on a $300,000 property is way more than 5% on a $100,000 property. So you got to look at all these things and make adjustments on price in terms of as far as
Right.
depending on the deal. But yeah, it's possible. There's deals out there all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just gotta ask for it. If you don't ask for it, you're never gonna get it, right?
Yeah, and and we'll try to. I know we don't want to try to keep these episodes too long, but like if I had a bunch of paid off properties, like I would do owner financing because
too,
it's easy. I would be collecting money every month, but I don't have to deal with it anymore, and I'm giving somebody the opportunity to build wealth
Right.
through it. So
That's awesome.
it's really a good deal. So yeah, owner financing, seller financing. If you don't understand the concept, send us a comment, send us a message. We'll be more than happy to explain it to you. But it is a great opportunity for you to find a property or even sell a property if you can. So, but yeah, any takeaways that you have on these, please leave it in our comments. We really appreciate if you want to learn more about it or if you want us to talk about something else. But we've been really focusing about trying to talk about what we're experiencing, which is this, right? So I think this was another great segment.
I think it was great. Let us know what was the biggest takeaway you took from this video, because it really helped us get better in every video as far as how we explain it and what we talk about in the episode. So yeah, please comment below and let us know. Do you still have questions about anything, or did you didn't understand anything on the process, or what was your biggest takeaway? What do you think of the deals that we did as far as owner financing? And if you're someone that owns a property right now and you want to do owner financing, let's just sit down and talk about terms. Reach out to us, and we'll love to make a deal happen. So thank you so much for joining. Please subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much to everybody that's been watching and giving us feedback. We get message from you guys a lot as far as like, hey, we're learning. We love the energy. We love the quality. We love the name. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you on the next episode. Real Hungry.
Peace.